Tennessee Volunteers of 1965, picked by the experts to finish no higher than 8th in the Southeastern Conference, were one of the surprise teams of college football. Ignoring the dire predictions made for them, the Vols last spring held a squad meeting and dedicated themselves to working determinedly to achieve a successful record. When the season finally came to an end December 18th, the Volunteers could look back on a year in which their accomplishments had won for them a golden niche in the great tradition of University of Tennessee football. The Vols ended the season with a record of 8 victories against only 1 loss, and that by a single point. They were tied twice, but one of the ties came against Alabama, 1965's National Collegiate Champion. Tennessee played in and won the championship of the Bluebonnet Bowl. The Vols finished 3rd in the Southeastern Conference and were ranked 7th in the final wire service polls. They boasted an authentic All-American and linebacker Frank Emanuel, and their brilliant young coach, 33-year-old Doug Dickey, was named Coach of the Year in the Southeastern Conference. It was quite a season for the Volunteers, one we feel you'll enjoy recalling with us as we review the highlights from the opening game with Army to the Bluebonnet Bowl victory in Houston in mid-December. And here are some of the players who made Tennessee's 1965 season a brilliant success. First, members of the offensive unit. At end, Austin Denny, husky 220-pounder from Nashville, whose sure hands made him a dependable pass receiver. At tackle, a big, strong newcomer, John Boynton, who came to UT from Pikeville and made the All-Southeastern Conference sophomore team. At guard, Gerald Woods of Milan, Tennessee, whose pass blocking was important and the Vols stepped up offense. At center, Reggie Jellicourse of Morristown, who alternated with all-sophomore selection Bob Johnson. At guard, a second-team All-SEC selection, Bobby Gratz of Morristown. At tackle, Jim Lowe of South Fulton, a senior who was a big man on the forward wall as the Vols improved their blocking week by week. At split end, Johnny Mills, a junior from Elizabethton, who set a new single-game Vol receiving record when he snared 10 against UCLA. Another valuable member of the offensive cast, senior David Leake of Memphis, dependable place kicker and capable also as a split end. Charlie Fulton of Memphis, a sophomore quarterback whose play before he was injured at midseason stamped him as a potential Volunteer great. At wingback, Hal Wantlin of Columbia, whose play exemplified the spirit of college football. Hal won the Jacobs Trophy as the best blocker in the Southeastern Conference. The tailback of the 1965 Vols is elusive Walter Chadwick of Decatur, Georgia, speedy broken field threat who was picked on the All-Southeastern Conference sophomore team. Stan Mitchell, a hard-hitting fullback from Sparta, one of the top hands in the country at picking up vital first down yardage. And Dewey Warren, a sophomore quarterback from Savannah, Georgia, who in only 4 games set a new Tennessee season record for pass completions. Here are some of the Vols' defensive standouts. At end, Bobby Frazier of Bartow, Florida, whose steady play earned him recognition as an All-Southeastern Conference flanker. At tackle, Bill Cameron of Rayford, North Carolina, called on to play a new position. Bill responded with dependable work throughout the 1965 campaign. At middle guard from College Grove, Bobby Morrell, a rugged competitor who gained competence as the season progressed. Another defensive tackle, Mac Gentry of Knoxville, whose drive and dedication blended perfectly with his keen football mind. At end, Paul Newmoff, a ball-hawking junior from Columbus, Ohio, who came up with many key plays for the defensive unit. Frank Emanuel, rugged linebacker from Newport News, Virginia, an All-American who rates as one of the great defensive football players in Tennessee's proud history. Talented Tom Fisher of Brooksville, Florida, teamed with Emanuel to form a linebacking tandem generally recognized as the best in the nation. The monster man of the Volunteers, ball-hawking Doug Archibald, a junior from Sarasota, Florida. At defensive halfback, Jerry Smith, a junior from Thomasville, North Carolina, dangerous as a punt return specialist. Another defensive halfback, Harold Stansel, one of the fastest members of the squad. Hal is a junior from Knoxville. The reliable safety man, Bob Petrella of South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, rated by his coaches as one of the top men in the South at this important position. The Vols began the thrilling 1965 season with an intersectional clash against Army. A crowd of almost 50,000 watches at Neyland Stadium as fullback Stan Mitchell romps 46 yards in the first quarter to the Cadet 22. On the next play, quarterback Charlie Fulton flips a pass to wingback Hal Wantlin, and the Vols' great captain races down the sideline for the remaining 22 yards. Tennessee leads 7-0 as David Leake adds the extra point. The Vols strike again just before the first half ends. Fulton catches Army by surprise with a pass to tight end Austin Denny. The touchdown play covering 53 yards. The powerfully built Denny bulls his way out of the grasp of an Army tackler to go in for the score. Jerry Smith, the slippery punt return artist, seals the verdict away in the fourth period when he takes an Army kick and sprints 65 yards for the final touchdown. Bobby Frazier, Doug Archibald, and Glenn Gray contribute vital blocks to help clear the way. Tennessee gets off to a promising start in the 1965 campaign by turning back the cadets of Army 21-0. Comes Auburn, the team that finishes second in the Southeastern Conference and wins a berth in the Liberty Bowl. Tennessee draws first blood when junior linebacker Tom Fisher darts through the Tiger line to block this first quarter kick. Mac Gentry recovers, and the Vols are in business on the Auburn 27. Two plays are instrumental in the touchdown drive. Here, Charlie Fulton hits his rangy end, Johnny Mills, for a 14-yard pickup to the 6. Then, Fulton finds running room around right end for the first touchdown in this 17th renewal of one of the Southeastern Conference's most closely fought rivalries. David Leake's conversion puts Tennessee ahead 7-0. With Auburn driving in the second period, defensive back Harold Stansel averts a score with an interception of a Tom Bryan pass in the second quarter. But Auburn gets the ball right back, and Bryan edges over for the TD from the 1. The extra point kick fails, and Tennessee nurses a slim 7-6 lead at halftime. The Vols score again in the third period. 20 crucial yards are gained in this pass from Fulton to Mills. 3 plays later, Fulton, the sophomore quarterback from Memphis, sprints into the end zone from the 13 with the help of a key block by Mills. The Vols go into the fourth quarter with a 13-6 lead. The Auburn game ends in a 13-13 deadlock when the Tigers register a tying touchdown in the final period. Tom Bryan tosses a short pass to Hank Hall, climaxing a 35-yard march. The tie leaves Tennessee with a record of 1 win and a tie going into the next week's homecoming game with South Carolina. It's homecoming on the hill at Knoxville, and the Vols entertain thousands of old grads with their finest offensive display of the young season. A key play in a 47-yard scoring march is a second quarter, run by sophomore tailback Walter Chadwick. It gains 14 yards. Ron Jarvis picks up a vital first down as he rambles to the South Carolina 16-yard line. It's Chadwick's turn again, and the dandy speedster from Decatur, Georgia, carries around left end for the final 5 yards. With the help of David Leake's 44-yard field goal, the Vols jump ahead 10-0. South Carolina scores a field goal shortly before the half ends, but the Vols bounce back for another score in the third period. The fleet Charlie Fulton carries 19 yards to the Gamecock 7. 2 plays later, Chadwick puts the ball in the end zone from the 2 as he bounces off 3 South Carolina defenders with a tremendous display of extra effort. Tennessee goes on top by 17-3. Another Vol touchdown cinches a victory in the final period. Chadwick, taking advantage of effective blocking by a vastly improved line, romps with a pitch out from his own 42 to South Carolina's 25. Hal Wantlin, winner of the coveted Jacobs Trophy as the best blocker in the Southeastern Conference, is instrumental in springing Chadwick for the 33-yard pickup. Then David Leake, more often used as a kicking specialist, shows his versatility as he gets loose from his split end position and hauls in a 25-yard touchdown strike from Fulton. Tennessee makes a howling success of homecoming with a 24-3 victory over South Carolina. With a record of 2 wins and 1 tie, Tennessee moves into its great traditional clash with Alabama. 70,000 fans at Birmingham's Legion Field see a titanic defensive struggle interrupted by 2 second-quarter TDs. Doug Archibald blocks David Ray's field goal attempt, and the Vols inaugurate their scoring drive from their own 31. A pass from Fulton to Wantlin covers 21 yards and moves the Vols into Alabama territory. Then Fulton advances the ball 20 more yards with this run to get Tennessee into scoring position. Another pass, Fulton to Mills, picks up 13 more yards, and the Vols are knocking at the TD door. Deep in Crimson Tide territory, the power of Stan Mitchell cannot be denied. The Vols' senior fullback rolls to the Alabama 1. Then Mitchell dives across for the TD. David Leake's conversion puts Tennessee on top, 7-0. Alabama comes right back to knock the score. The big play in an 80-yard touchdown drive is Steve Sloan's pass to Dennis Homan for 28 yards. Then Sloan, the Southeastern Conference's most valuable player, connects with Dickie Thompson for another first down at the ball, too. Fighting the clock, Alabama tallies on the final play of the half, with Sloan picking up the final yard in a 7-7 tie game. Three Tennessee assistant coaches die in a car train collision in Knoxville the Monday following the Alabama game. The Vol squad dedicates its play for the remainder of the season to their memory. After a scoreless first half against Houston, Tennessee goes ahead 10-0 on David Leake's 20-yard field goal, and this determined pass interception returned by Doug Archibald. In the final period, Stan Mitchell recovers a fumble on a punt, and Tennessee has possession on the Houston 23-yard line. The powerful Mitchell cracks through for 12 yards to the 11. And 2 plays later, Chadwick goes the last yards for the TD. Tennessee rolls past Houston 17-8, setting the stage for the critical game with Georgia Tech. It's the pageantry of college football at its spectacular best when Georgia Tech and Tennessee met in Knoxville before 52,000 fans, the largest crowd ever to see a sports event in the state of Tennessee. Time after time, Tennessee turns back Tech drives in the first half. A crucial touchdown save is made by defensive back Bob Petrella, whose perfect timing produces an interception in the end zone. The half ends with the 2 teams locked in a scoreless stalemate. In the third quarter, Carroll Stansel electrifies the overflow audience when he snatches an errant Kim King pass and rambles 36 yards for the Vols' first score. A short time later, Tennessee mounts a drive for a second TD. Fulton shows his heels to the Yellow Jackets as he gets loose on this 57-yard jaunt, which carries all the way to the Tech 23. Mitchell takes the pitch out and fights his way to the Tech 3-yard line. A pass from Fulton to Wantlin and second down surprises the Engineers and gives Tennessee a 2-touchdown lead midway through the third period. The Vols wrap up all their scoring in one quarter when they go 66 yards for still another TD. Fulton's pass to Wantlin, covering 13 yards, gives the march momentum. From the Tech 15, Fulton fires a pass to Austin Denny, and the big end from Nashville moves the ball to the 2. Stan Mitchell, always reliable for picking up the tough short yardage, leaps across from the 2 as Tennessee delights a tremendous Neyland Stadium crowd with a 21-7 victory over Georgia Tech's Yellow Jackets. Longtime rivals Tennessee and Ole Miss clash in Memphis, beautiful new Memorial Stadium in early November. Dewey Warren, taking over at quarterback for Charlie Fulton, who was injured on the first play, guides the Vols to a first quarter TD. Chadwick goes off tackle to set up the score with this brilliant 51-yard maneuver. Warren, unable to find a receiver, keeps for 7 more yards to the Ole Miss 12. It requires 7 more plays, but Stan Mitchell climaxes the 80-yard march by diving across from the 1. With David Leake converting, the Vols go in front 7-0. Ole Miss comes back to score following the ensuing kickoff in which Doug Cunningham breaks loose for a 69-yard return. He's finally bumped out of bounds by safety man Bobby Petrella. From the ball 4, Ole Miss scores in 2 plays. Jimmy Heidel's pass to Cunningham moves the Rebels to the 1, where Jerry Smith's jarring tackle momentarily prevents the touchdown. But reserve quarterback Joe Graves then charges into the end zone as Ole Miss pulls into a 7-7 tie at the half. Tennessee assumes command again early in the third period when Petrella's interception of a Heidel pass gives the Vols possession at the Ole Miss 23. Walter Chadwick then crashes to the 9 to give the Vols first and goal. Finally, Chadwick picks up the last 2 yards, and Tennessee goes ahead of Mississippi 13-7. On a third down play from his own territory, Graves gets a vital first down for Ole Miss with this 10-yard pickup. Graves again exhibits his capacity to come through in the clutch when he hits Rocky Fleming for 9 yards on this 4th down pass. The veteran Mike Dennis, one of the South's premier runners, carries across for an Ole Miss TD to deadlock the game at 13 apiece. Then the decisive extra point. Jimmy Key's kick is good, and Ole Miss hands Tennessee its only loss of the year, 14-13. Sensing a possible bowl bid, Tennessee travels to Lexington, Kentucky to take on the talented Wildcats. The Vols' rugged goal line defense is never better than in the second quarter, as illustrated by this series of plays from inside the Tennessee 6. Led by the great All-America linebacker Frank Emanuel, the proud Tennessee defenders hurl back Kentucky's charge. The Wildcats turn to their top offensive weapon, halfback Roger Bird, but the Corbin senior finds it going treacherous against the aggressive volunteer defenders. On fourth down, Emanuel and teammates stop the Wildcats at the 1. Glenn Gray, Derek Weatherford, Tom Fisher, Bob Petrella, and the other members of the defensive unit chalk up another successful goal line stand. A 3-3 halftime lead is shattered when Doug Archibald, the Ball's valuable monster man, picks off a Kentucky pass and sets up a touchdown with this interception returned to the 2. Quarterback Warren on a keeper covers a remaining 2 yards to put Tennessee on top, 10-3. The alert Vol defense sets up a clinching touchdown in the third quarter. Emanuel latches on to a deflected pass and brings the interception back to the Wildcat 21. Warren charges ahead for 9 yards to put the Balls within scoring distance. Again, it's Warren, the fast-developing sophomore from Savannah. The resourceful young quarterback gets the last 3 yards for the Ball's second TD. One of the most spectacular plays of the afternoon takes place in the fourth quarter when Derek Weatherford, Glenn Gray, and Paul Newmoff chase Kentucky quarterback Harry Beadles into his own end zone for a safety. Tennessee regains possession of the beer barrel that symbolizes supremacy in this great series with a 19-3 win. The jubilant Ball squad immediately accepts an invitation to play in the Bluebonnet Bowl December 18th at Houston. Tennessee moves out to a fast start in its final Neyland Stadium appearance against intrastate rival Vanderbilt. Stan Mitchell rambles 62 yards for a touchdown that puts the Balls in front of Vanderbilt 7-0. Mitchell's strength foils one would-be tackler, while blocks by Wantlin and Chadwick keep other Commodore defenders away. Vandy scores a field goal to make it 7-3, but the Balls drive 80 yards in the second period for another touchdown. Warren's pass to Mitchell accounts for 15 yards and puts the ball at the Ball 39. The Balls pick up 19 more yards as Warren fires a strike to Chadwick, who heads down the sideline into Vandy territory. Tennessee moves into a 14-3 lead when a Warren to Austin Denny pass covers the final 20 yards. Again, the Balls compress all their scoring into a single period, in this case, the second quarter. Paul Newmoff, junior end from Columbus, Ohio, pounces on a Commodore fumble at the Vandy 23. The key play in the short payoff drive sees Hal Wantlin make a nifty catch of a Warren pass before he's knocked out of bounds at the 2. Mr. Dependable himself, Stan Mitchell, gets the last yard needed for the score as the Balls roll past their interstate rival Vanderbilt 21-3. The most exciting game of the year took place in Memphis when Rose Bowl-bound UCLA collided with Bluebonnet Bowl-bound Tennessee in a fantastic offensive circus. UCLA scores early, but Tennessee comes right back to knock the score at the end of the first period. Warren finds Wantlin for a 13-yard gain and a first down at midfield. Warren, enjoying a record-shattering passing day for the Balls, completes one to end Johnny Mills at the 25. Again, the Balls move through the air. Warren passes to Chadwick. The play advancing the ball to the Bruins 13. Touchdown, Tennessee. Dewey Warren hits Hal Wantlin for the score. David Leak adds the extra point. The Vols forge ahead in the second period. Chadwick darts ahead for 23 yards and a first down at the UCLA 36. Warren connects on a throw to Mitchell, advancing the ball 15 yards to the 11. This time, Warren keeps from the 1, and Tennessee goes ahead, 14-7. The game takes on the appearance of a volunteer romp late in the second period when Warren's 26-yard pass to Wantlin produces a third Tennessee touchdown. The fired-up Vols lead the field at halftime 20-7. But the complexion changes suddenly at the start of the third period when UCLA posts 2 quick touchdowns. Here, quarterback Gary Beban runs through the Vol defense, 36 yards for a score. 2 plays later, the ball squirts from the arms of a Tennessee back into the hands of UCLA's Tim McAteer, who races into the end zone. The stunned Vols now trail 21-20. UCLA scores still another third quarter touchdown, but the Vols start the uphill climb toward victory as Warren to Mills clicks for 15 yards. Again, Warren hits Mills, this time for 11 yards and a first down at the Bruin 27. In one of the most spectacular plays of the game, Warren passes to Mills, who laterals to Chadwick. The speedy Chadwick moves all the way to the 7 before he's knocked out of bounds. Chadwick then covers the remaining 7 yards to bring the Vols to within 2 points of the Bruins at 26-28. The Vols set their offensive machinery in motion again. Warren, who manages to throw the ball just as he is being tackled, completes it to Austin Denny. The play gains 15 yards. When UCLA slows the Tennessee drive, David Leak's 20-yard field goal puts the Vols on top once more, 29-28. Now it's the Californians' turn to score. Kurt Altenberg takes a pass from Beban and carries all the way into the Vol end zone, but there's a clip, and the ball is set back to the Vol 21. UCLA goes on to a touchdown in 4 plays and moves ahead in the seesaw battle, 34-29. The decisive Tennessee touchdown drive starts with 3.5 minutes remaining. That familiar passing tandem of Warren to Mills is good for 16 yards. Warren lets fire again, this time to Chadwick. The play gains 20 yards and gives UT a first down at the UCLA 5. On 4th down at the 1, Dewey Warren rolls around end for the touchdown that brings victory to Tennessee, 37-34. The end of a surprising season in which the Vols gained final ranking as the 7th best team in the nation came with the playing of the Bluebonnet Bowl at Houston in mid-December. The Vols take on Missouri Valley champion Tulsa in a driving rain. On the opening play, Bob Petrella recovers a Tulsa fumble following a hurricane pass completion. Doug Archibald's tackle jarred the ball loose. Dewey Warren sets up the opening score when he connects on a throw to Hal Wantlin for 20 yards. This time the distance is shorter, but again it's Warren to Wantlin, the play covering 4 yards for the touchdown. Tulsa ties the count with a first quarter touchdown of its own, but the Vols set up shop once more when Emanuel comes up with the recovery of a Tulsa fumble at the Hurricane 33. Warren goes to work and scrambles for 14 yards before he's brought down at the Tulsa 16. Charlie Fulton, finally recovered from an ankle injury that sidelined him in the Ole Miss game, scoots ahead for 15 big yards, all the way to the 1. Warren picks up the final yard in the touchdown march as the Vols go ahead for keeps midway through the second period. Jerry Smith's brilliant punt return through rain and mud covers 45 yards with a vital block thrown by the gritty captain of the Volunteers, Hal Wantlin. Three plays later, Warren crosses the goal to widen Tennessee's lead to 20-6. A spectacular ball pass defense bags another of 4 interceptions turned in by the Orange Horses against Tulsa as Glenn Gray pulls the ball in and returns to the Hurricane 43. Rugged fullback Stan Mitchell tears off the final 11 yards for the Volunteer score to wrap up a 27-6 victory. The triumph lifts the Vols to an overall record of 8 wins, 1 loss, and 2 ties.